Hey ladies, he hasn't texted in 2 days. You check his Instagram, glance at the faces in his stories, and your heart tightens. Why isn't he missing me like I miss him? Sound familiar? Here's the truth. Making a man miss you isn't about playing games, it's an art. An emotional rhythm, and like all great art, it's crafted with nuance, understanding, and just the right touch of mystery. Here are 10 beautifully effective ways to stir that feeling of longing in his chest, so that you are the one he can't stop thinking about. Disappear, just enough to be missed. No one misses what's always there. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is nothing. Don't text first. Don't like his posts. Don't hover. You're not being cold, you're letting him feel your absence. Because distance creates desire. This isn't about punishing him or creating anxiety, it's about allowing the emotional pendulum to swing back toward you naturally. When you always initiate, always show up, always give, he never gets a chance to miss your presence, because he's never without it. Being everywhere in his world, online, in texts, on his screen, might feel like connection, but often it becomes noise. If he knows exactly when you'll message, when you'll react, what you'll say, there's no room for imagination. But when you pull back just a little, unpredictably, you disrupt the rhythm. And that silence? That pause? It becomes something he starts to listen for. He checks his phone more often. He replays your last conversation. He starts to remember how you made him feel, because now, without you right there, those feelings begin to echo. We remember the spaces people leave behind, not just the people themselves. That's why stepping back, gracefully, subtly, can be so effective. Maybe you usually say goodnight, tonight you don't. Maybe you'd normally comment on his post, today, you scroll past. Nothing drastic, just a shift. And in that shift, he'll feel the balance tip. He'll feel a new kind of weight in the silence, the weight of your absence. And that weight is what sparks the ache of missing someone. The key is not to make him chase, it's to give him space to choose. When your energy is always reaching, always filling the gaps, you don't give him the opportunity to feel what life is like without you. But when you step back, even slightly, his world loses something. The dynamic changes. Suddenly, you're not just someone he talks to, you're someone he wants to talk to again. He wonders what's going on in your world, and more importantly, why he's not a part of it right now. This kind of disappearing isn't about withdrawal, it's about emotional elegance. You're showing that your attention is valuable, that it doesn't flow automatically, that your energy is something he gets to experience, not something he's entitled to. That's powerful, because when he realizes that, he stops taking you for granted. He starts seeing you again, really seeing you, in the way he did when everything felt new. Think of your presence like perfume in a room. A hint of it lingers long after you've left. That's what you're creating, a trace of your energy that stays with him. And the beauty of it is, the less he sees of you for a while, the more he feels of you. That tension, between memory and desire, is where longing lives. Let him sit with it. Let him miss the sound of your voice. Let him scroll through old messages not because you told him to, but because he wants to feel closer to you. You don't need to explain your shift. In fact, don't. Mystery is magnetic. When you stop being the constant, the reliable, the always there, he begins to question. And in questioning, he begins to feel. Your absence is no longer silence. It's a message, a soft reminder. You don't have unlimited access to me. And ironically, the moment he feels that loss, is the moment he begins reaching for you again. Stay a little mysterious. Mystery is not about hiding who you are. It's about revealing just enough to make someone want more. In a world where everyone overshares, over-explains, and over-documents, holding a little bit back is magnetic. Think of it like a book you can't put down. Every time he thinks he's figured out the plot, he turns the page and finds something new. That's the kind of intrigue you want to create. You don't need to be aloof or cold to be mysterious. You just need to be unpredictable. Let your thoughts surprise him. Be curious about the world in ways he didn't expect. Talk about the books that shaped your view of love, or the country you dream of moving to one day. And when he asks a question, don't always give the full answer. Smile, pause, say, "That's a long story," and leave it at that. The silence will speak louder than any explanation. Part of staying mysterious is keeping a part of your life just for you. Maybe it's your morning routine, your creative project, your late-night thoughts. Not everything needs to be shared. The parts of you he doesn't know are the ones he'll think about at 2 a.m., wondering who you are when no one's watching. That mystery becomes a pull, and that pull becomes longing. Your social media can work in your favor here, too. Don't post everything. Let him wonder where you are, who you're with, what you're feeling. A single photo, a caption with no context, a day of silence, it all plants a seed in his mind. And curiosity, once planted, grows fast. He won't just scroll past you, he'll stop, stay, and wonder. Let your emotions remain complex. You don't have to be one thing. Be soft, but strong. Be joyful, but layered. Let your sadness show sometimes, but don't explain it away. Be human, but don't perform your humanity. When a man sees that you live deeply, and yet still have depths untouched, he doesn't just want to be near you. He wants to explore you. And finally, don't rush connection. Don't try to make him understand you all at once. Let time do its thing. Mystery is sustainable when it's real, when you're not holding back to play a role, but because you genuinely know that your soul can't be downloaded in one sitting. He'll keep coming back not because you're withholding, but because the more he learns, the more he realizes how much more there is to learn. That's the art of mystery. You don't hand him the whole map. You give him a compass, and just enough wonder to want to find his way. Create emotional echoes. When someone misses you, it's not your face they long for, it's the way your presence made the world feel different. People don't hold on to images, they hold on to emotional textures. That flutter in the chest when you laughed too hard at something silly. The calm they felt when you rested your head on their shoulder in silence. The feeling of being seen when you asked them a question no one else thought to ask. That's what lingers. Emotional echoes are created in the in-between spaces. Not during the big, performative moments, but in the raw, unfiltered ones. Like the time you danced barefoot in the kitchen because your favorite song came on. Or the way you paused mid-conversation, looked at him with that quiet intensity, and said something simple but unforgettable, like, "You don't always have to be strong, you know." These moments may pass quickly, but they leave an imprint, not because they were flashy, but because they were real. That's why it's so powerful to be fully present when you're with him. Listen with your whole face, not just your ears. React in ways that are unique to you. Be unfiltered in your joy, and unguarded in your tenderness. He won't remember every word you say, but he'll remember the energy. The atmosphere. The heartbeat of the room when you were in it. Emotional echoes are less about doing and more about being. Physical triggers play a big role too. Scent, sound, even the feeling of a specific fabric. Maybe he'll walk past someone wearing your perfume and feel that quick pang in his chest. Maybe a song you once sang in the car together comes on, and suddenly the memory crashes into him. That's the echo doing its work. You don't have to be there, the version of you that made him feel something still is. And don't forget the power of shared experiences. Take ordinary things and make them yours. A late-night ice cream run. Watching thunderstorms from the window. Laughing over a movie neither of you expected to like. Turn everyday life into inside jokes, into rituals, into flashbacks waiting to happen. When he's walking alone one day and sees two people laughing at the same movie poster, he'll think of you, because you built meaning into the mundane. Most importantly, give him something emotionally unfinished. Something he's still trying to figure out. Maybe it's the way you looked at him when you said goodbye, or the way you opened up just a little and then left the rest unsaid. That sense of emotional curiosity creates space for him to revisit the moment again and again in his mind, trying to decode it. That's how emotional echoes stay alive, by being both meaningful and open-ended. Leave little reminders. The human brain is deeply sensory, and memory is often triggered not by thoughts, but by touch, smell, sight, and sound. That's why a seemingly insignificant item can hold an incredible amount of emotional weight. When you leave something behind, intentionally or not, it becomes more than just a thing. It becomes a part of you that stays in his world after you've walked out of the room. Your scarf on the back of his chair still smells like your perfume. That book you left on his nightstand still has your underlined passages. A single earring on his dresser becomes a soft echo of intimacy. These are not accidents. These are gentle reminders of your existence, not loud, not demanding, but quietly insistent. He might not notice them at first. Maybe he moves the coffee mug you always use without thinking, or leaves your hair tie on the sink. But as the days go by, these objects start to shift. They start to carry more meaning. In a quiet moment, when his mind is wandering, he'll touch that mug and remember the way you laughed over something small. He'll catch the faint trace of your scent in his hoodie and freeze, because for a second, it's like you're there again. These moments are brief, but they hit hard. They land when he least expects them. You don't need to engineer this. In fact, it's more powerful when it's subtle. Leave something because you were genuinely comfortable there. A book because you thought he'd like it. Your favorite lip balm forgotten on purpose. It's not about strategy, it's about presence. You're showing up even when you're not physically there. That's what creates emotional continuity. He doesn't just miss you when you're gone. He feels you in the spaces you once occupied. Even digital remnants can have power. A playlist you made, a photo saved to his phone, a message you sent that he rereads. Emotional reminders don't have to be physical, they just have to be meaningful. The goal isn't to haunt him, but to become an invisible thread running through his day. Something gentle, something familiar, something he didn't know he needed, until he notices it's there. These reminders work best when they're tied to emotion. A shared laugh, a moment of closeness, an inside joke. So when he stumbles upon them, they don't just remind him of you, they remind him how it felt to be with you. That feeling is what creates longing. Not the object itself, but the emotional doorway it opens. That's when missing you becomes inevitable. Let your presence be unforgettable in the smallest ways. A handwritten note tucked into a book. A voice note that he finds a week later. Your initials carved lightly in the corner of his mind. These reminders are quiet, but they carry your signature. He won't always talk about them. He may not even admit how much they affect him. But they'll stay. They'll sit with him in the silence, soft, steady, and impossible to ignore. Live fully, for you. There is nothing more magnetic than a woman who moves through the world with purpose. Not because she's trying to prove something, not to impress anyone, but because she genuinely enjoys her life. That's what makes someone unforgettable. Not desperation, not dependency, but joy, independence, radiance, the kind of presence that fills a room without asking for permission. And when he sees that you don't need anyone to complete you, that you've already built something beautiful within yourself, he won't just notice, he'll remember. It's a paradox, really. The more you chase your own fulfillment, the more others want to be a part of your world. When you wake up excited for your own plans, dive into your passions, laugh deeply with your friends, and explore new things without waiting for someone to join you, that energy is contagious. Men don't miss the women who orbit them. They miss the ones who orbit something bigger. A vision, a dream, a life. You become unforgettable not by trying to impress him, but by doing what impresses you. Travel because you crave it. Learn something new because it lights you up. Go out, dress up, get lost in conversation with people who expand your mind. Build your own joy. When he looks at you and sees a woman in motion, with momentum, passion, and peace, he'll feel the absence of that light when you're not around. And this doesn't mean you ignore him or act superior. It means your world doesn't shrink to fit someone else's. You invite people in, sure, but the house was already full of warmth before they got there. That's the difference. That's what makes your presence a privilege, not an expectation. When he realizes that time with you is something earned, not something automatically given, it changes everything. Men are wired to pursue, but not just people. They pursue meaning, energy, impact. When you're truly living for yourself, you stop being predictable. He doesn't know where you'll be next, who you'll meet, what will inspire you. That unpredictability is thrilling, and suddenly, your absence isn't just quiet, it's a void. A sense that something electric is happening without him, and he wants back in. This isn't about pretending to be busy or curating a life for social media. It's about falling in love with your own existence so deeply that others can't help but feel drawn to it. And when he does think of you, in between meetings, late at night, when a song reminds him of you, what he'll miss isn't just you. He'll miss who he was when he was around you. Because being near someone that alive makes people feel more alive too. So live fully, not to make him miss you, not to make anyone jealous, but because it's the only life you get, and it's yours before it's anyone else's. Let him watch from the sidelines if he must. But make sure the show is worth watching. And when he does miss you, and he will, it won't be because you disappeared. It'll be because you lit up the world, and now he's standing in the dark. Don't be too available. Being too available sends a silent message: I have nothing else going on. That might not be true, of course, you do have a life. But when your responses are immediate, your schedule is always open, and your attention is endlessly accessible, you risk becoming predictable. And predictability, in the early stages of attraction, can quickly dissolve into emotional monotony. There's power in creating just a little distance. Not to be manipulative, but to let anticipation build, like a perfectly timed pause in music that makes the next note land with impact. The tension of waiting is underrated. When he texts and you don't reply right away, a question quietly surfaces in his mind. What's she doing? That one simple thought plants a seed of interest. It's not anxiety, it's intrigue. You're giving him space to wonder, and in that wondering, the emotional stakes rise. He begins to care about your response. He doesn't just want it, he misses it. And that's the key. Longing isn't born in constant contact, it's born in carefully timed silence. Let him lean in. Let him feel the imbalance for a moment. It's in that imbalance that pursuit ignites. You don't need to play hard to get, but you do need to let yourself be missed. If he never has to reach for you, never has to wait, never has to wonder, then you risk blending into the background of his life. But if you allow yourself to respond with rhythm instead of reflex, you create contrast. And contrast is what sharpens desire. You can still be warm, kind, and affectionate. Just don't be on call. Don't interrupt your day for every buzz. Don't pause your plans just because he popped up. Let your life matter more than your replies. When he sees that you prioritize your own time, he'll start to treat your time with more value, too. Scarcity isn't about games, it's about dignity. Your time is precious. Treat it that way, and others will follow suit. There's a subtle elegance in delayed availability. A kind of grace in being there, but not always immediately there. You respond when it feels natural, not when you feel obligated. You leave just enough room for curiosity to grow. That space between message and response becomes a hallway filled with his thoughts, and all of them are walking toward you. But here's the golden rule: don't fake it. Don't wait hours to reply just because someone on TikTok said it's strategic. Let your delay come from being engaged with your own life, not from calculation. Authenticity matters. The goal isn't to manipulate his emotions, but to protect your own energy, to show that your attention is something to be earned, not assumed. Because when a woman isn't too available, she becomes something rare. And in a world of instant everything, rarity is unforgettable. He'll think of you not just because he hasn't heard from you, but because he wants to. And that's a far stronger pull than proximity. Keep that feminine spark. Your femininity isn't about appearance, it's an energy. A glow. A magnetic pulse that doesn't beg for attention but naturally commands it. It lives in the way you laugh without restraint, the way your eyes light up when you talk about something you love, the way you move through the world like it's lucky to have you. That spark is what turns heads, lingers in conversations, and stays with someone long after the moment has passed. And when you keep that spark alive, for yourself, the right people can't help but feel drawn in. It starts with your relationship to life. Are you flirting with the moment? Are you engaged, curious, playful? Feminine energy doesn't chase, it attracts. It doesn't prove, it radiates. When you walk into a room, you don't have to be loud or dramatic. Just present, poised. A woman in tune with herself doesn't need to perform. Her authenticity is her allure. That spark is in the small things. The way you touch his arm mid-story. The way you tuck your hair behind your ear. The slight smirk when he says something clever. It's in your voice, your posture, your stillness. It's subtle, but unforgettable, and that's why it works. Because you're not trying to be the center of attention. You are the attention. The room bends slightly toward you, and no one can quite explain why. Men don't miss perfection, they miss presence. That electric, unmistakable you-ness that can't be replicated. And when you're fully in that energy, when you're not just performing femininity but living it, they feel it in their chest. They feel it when you're gone. They feel it when they meet someone else who doesn't have it. And suddenly, no matter where they go, they're comparing every moment back to you. The most powerful part of this spark is that it's not about him. It's about you. It's about how much you enjoy being you. When you're lit up from within, doing things you love, spending time with people who make you laugh, wearing what makes you feel beautiful, you become irresistible, not just romantically, but universally. That self-generated joy is contagious. It makes people want to stand next to you, hoping some of that light rubs off. There's a wild, raw, grounded beauty in a woman who owns her femininity without apology. Who compliments others with grace, walks away with ease, and refuses to dull her shine just to keep the peace. She's soft without being small. She's magnetic without manipulation. She's light and fire at the same time. And when a man experiences that, really experiences it, he doesn't forget. Because she didn't just flirt with him. She flirted with life. And that's a love story he'll keep replaying in his head, long after she's gone. Go quiet on social media. In a world addicted to updates, silence becomes seductive. When you suddenly go quiet online, no stories, no selfies, no late-night reposts. It's not just the absence of content. It's the presence of a question: where did she go? You break the rhythm he's used to. The one where he always knows what you're doing, where you are, who you're with. And suddenly, he doesn't. That digital gap becomes mental space, and in that space, you become more powerful than any filter or caption could ever make you. You don't need to make a dramatic exit. Just disappear subtly. Let your online presence dissolve into mystery. No taking a break announcement, no vague story about being overwhelmed. Just go still. Let the last post be something light, effortless. Then vanish. This quiet creates contrast. It forces him to look up from the noise and realize, you're not in the feed anymore. And it's in that moment of scrolling and not finding you that something clicks. You're not available. You're not accessible. And suddenly, you're all he wants to find. Social media has created a false sense of closeness. Everyone thinks they know everything about everyone, until one person steps away. That person becomes real again. Not just pixels, not just highlights. Real, untouchable, and wanted. The imagination fills in what the feed can't supply. Is she out somewhere laughing with someone else? Is she working on something big? Is she thinking about me? You didn't say a word, and yet the silence is deafening. The power of digital absence is that it lets him feel your value through contrast. You were once constant, now you're rare. Rare feels expensive, rare feels earned, and he'll start to realize how much he relied on seeing you in that tiny glowing rectangle just to feel close. When that's gone, he starts to crave what he can't access. And that craving? That's the beginning of longing. Going quiet doesn't mean you disappear from your own life. It means you take your energy offline and live it fully, privately. You dance at a party without posting a story. You enjoy a coffee without tagging the cafe. You wear that killer outfit and let no one see it but the people in the room. Your life becomes sacred again, not a show, not a performance. And the more you enjoy it, the more he feels like he's missing out. This isn't about games. It's about creating emotional spaciousness. When you stop broadcasting every move, he has to come closer to learn anything. The algorithm won't feed him clues, so he has to reach out, ask, engage. And when he does, you're not just a girl he follows, you're a woman he notices. A woman he thinks about when his screen is blank. Let your absence become a form of presence. In that silence, your mystery grows. And with it, his curiosity, his attention, his desire. You're no longer scrolling by unnoticed. You're staying in his mind long after he closes the app. Be warm when he reaches out. When he finally breaks the silence and sends that message. The late night, "Hey, I miss you," or the casual, "How have you been?" How you respond will define the entire emotional tone from here on. It's easy to react with pride, with walls, with cold distance. Especially if you felt ignored or underappreciated. But if your goal is to create lasting emotional impact, to be remembered not just as the one who got away, but as the one who made me feel safe, warmth is your most powerful move. Being warm doesn't mean being naive. It means being in control. Emotional warmth, when it comes from self-possession, is captivating. You don't need to fall back into old patterns or say too much too fast. You just meet him with grace. A calm tone, a touch of humor, a softness that says, "I see you reaching out, and I'm not here to punish you for it." That kind of response? It disarms ego. It diffuses tension. It makes you unforgettable. Men don't expect kindness when they return, especially not if they've pulled away or gone quiet themselves. So when they do make the first move, and you respond not with ice, but with light, it throws them off in the best possible way. They'll remember it. They'll feel the shift. You didn't chase. You didn't beg. But when he turned back around, you weren't bitter. You were better. And that changes everything. This is where confidence shines. A warm response doesn't mean you're saying yes to everything. It means you know your value so well, you don't need to withhold it to feel powerful. You have nothing to prove. And ironically, that energy makes you even more desirable. Because now, he's not talking to the girl who wanted validation, he's talking to the woman who's already whole. You can be playful, curious, genuine, ask how he's been, if it feels right. Smile in your voice. Keep your boundaries, but let your soul stay soft. Don't go robotic in the name of protecting your heart. Protection isn't about shutting down. It's about knowing who deserves access, and being graceful when they earn it. When you show warmth, you're not giving up power, you're showing mastery. Emotional intelligence. Depth. You're saying, I'm not afraid to feel, and I'm not afraid to be kind, even when it's unexpected. And that kind of woman? She leaves a mark that no amount of time or silence can erase. So when he finally reaches out, don't make it about revenge or regret. Let it be a moment of clarity. A moment where you remind him, you don't chase, you don't beg, you don't freeze, you choose. And that choice, made with warmth and calm strength, is exactly what makes him miss you all over again. Leave him wanting more. There's something hauntingly powerful about almost. The kiss that lingered just a second too short. The story that ended with, I'll tell you the rest another time. The way you smiled at him without explaining why. These aren't oversights, they're intentional pauses. And those pauses don't frustrate him, they captivate him. They echo. They leave behind a spark that hasn't been fully lit, a feeling that hasn't quite been named. And it's that feeling, that incompleteness, that he'll replay in his mind over and over again. Because humans don't crave what they already understand. They crave what they almost had. What felt just out of reach. Leaving him wanting more doesn't mean withholding affection or acting distant. It means curating your presence with the same finesse as a great storyteller. You don't give the entire plot in the first chapter. You build. You reveal pieces slowly. You say just enough to light his curiosity, to make him feel something, then you step back, and you let that feeling expand in his chest. Maybe you stop the conversation when it's at its peak, when laughter still hangs in the air. Maybe your goodbye is soft but deliberate, with that look in your eyes that says there's more, but he'll have to come closer to find it. This applies to emotional intimacy too. Don't be the open book with every page turned at once. Let him earn the privilege of reading your deeper chapters. When you reveal everything immediately, there's nothing left to discover, and discovery is what makes someone unforgettable. Mystery isn't about hiding, it's about pacing, giving him just enough of your truth to connect, and enough distance to desire. The art of leaving him wanting more also lives in how you carry yourself. It's in the confidence of knowing you don't need to prove anything. You don't need to overstay. You don't need to rush to fill the silence. You're willing to end a date while the energy is still rising. You walk away with poise, not because you're playing games, but because you know your worth. Because you understand that the most lasting impressions are made in the moments we don't see coming. And here's what happens next. After you leave, you stay. Not physically, but emotionally. In his thoughts, in his memories, in his skin. He'll wonder what would have happened if you'd stayed just 5 minutes longer. If he'd said the thing he was holding back. If you meant something more than you let on. That wondering is desire. That space you created? That's what gives him a reason to return. Don't be afraid to leave moments unfinished. A little mystery makes the memory stretch. He'll go over your words again, trying to decode the subtext. He'll remember the way you looked back one last time. The lightness in your touch. The way you didn't need him, but still chose to share a part of yourself. That balance is intoxicating. You're not leaning in too far, and you're not leaning out. You're right in the middle, close enough to touch, distant enough to chase. Because in the end, the women who are most deeply missed aren't the ones who gave everything. They're the ones who gave meaningfully, but left space. Space for him to feel. Space for him to move. Space for him to miss. And when he does, when he truly misses you, it won't be because you filled his world. It'll be because you touched it just enough, and then stepped away.